Earlier this week, Fox News host Will Cain made a complete and total fool of himself on air, and I think it was a moment worth highlighting because, one, it's fun, and also because his ignorance, I think, shows the damage that can be caused by political media silos, not just for the viewers, but for the participants in these conversations themselves. Joining me to discuss is my friend Tim Miller, co-host of the Next Level podcast, host of the Bulwark podcast. Tim never leaves his home studio. Great to see you.
But I'm not siloed. I am in my home studio, but I enter other silos via the magic of Zoom.
You enter a lot of silos, conversation for another day, Crooked After Dark. So to set the stage, Tim, here's a clip of Will Cain, Fox News host, making a fool of himself during this interview he did with Congressman Maxwell Frost, who is on the ground in El Salvador, highlighting the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case.
But before we move forward, I have to stop down with what you just said. Donald Trump's made a statement about wanting to deport American citizens. Do you have that in front of you? I've not seen that statement. Can you please quote where that comes from, that he would like to deport American citizens?
He said it in the Oval Office. He said he wants to go for homegrowns next, people born and raised in the United States.
Do you have anything? And then do you have anything besides your word on that? I have not seen that. So beyond your word, do you have the source of that? I would love to see that clip or that transcript of him saying he wants to deport American citizens.
There is a clip online. I encourage people to just Google Donald Trump homegrown, deporting homegrown criminals. It is something he said in the Oval Office.
So, Tim, I wanted to talk to you about this for two reasons. First, as you said about the silos, you do marinate in more conservative content or right-wing content than literally anyone I know. Second, you and I were discussing this moment on a group chat with some friends earlier this week, and I said, hey, guys, I'm taking credit for this one because Favreau and I were watching this live, and I tweeted about it to get the kind of like media monitor Twitter clippers going. Yeah. And your response to me was, quote, way to hand that over to Midas Touch instead of cultivating your own content. So we're righting that wrong. Do you feel vindicated?
I do feel vindicated. I mean, it's many hours late, you know. Ideally, Crooked Media would have cut that clip and put it out themselves, and you would have had the new Tommy Vietor selfie video take on it. But this is okay. We're doing pretty good. We're learning. We're growing. I'm impressed mostly, not about the work you're doing, Tommy, but about Fox, like bringing on like the minds at Fox were like, hey, we like this guy Willie Geist. We want to take Willie Geist and like get a Forrest Gump version of him. Can we have can I get a moron version of Willie Geist with a little bit of a Southern lilt? And they're like, yes, actually, we have this person available, Will Cain.
Listen, that's so good. I want to talk more about Will Cain's bio in a second. For viewers who are not as terminally online as we are, Trump has repeatedly floated the idea of sending American citizens to El Salvador. Here is one example from the Oval Office.
I'd like to go a step further. I mean, I said it to Pam. I don't know what the laws are. We always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies on the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking, that are absolute monsters. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country, but you'll have to be looking at the laws on that, Steve, okay?
And here's one more example.
Homegrown criminals next. Yeah. I said homegrowns are next. The homegrowns. You got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's fair. All right? It's not big enough.
So that second clip was, I think, Trump talking to Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, on a hot mic. They're basically caught on a live stream. I think they didn't know they were being recorded. So, Tim, I feel like there's two sort of options to explain Will Cain's ignorance there. One is that he's stupid and he doesn't read the news, the kind of brain-dead Willie Geist example you mentioned. Very possible. I guess these aren't mutually exclusive. And the second is that he only consumes conservative media and maybe genuinely did not know that Trump had floated this idea multiple times in the Oval Office. Do you have a take?
Yeah, I'll take both. I'll take a little bit from column A and column B. I think a lot of stuff doesn't break into their ecosystem. That's why I was happy that Maxwell Frost was on. That's why I'm happy that Yasmin Ansari, I saw her on Laura Ingram's show. And I was like, I had the same observation you just made, Tommy, where I was like, she was talking about Judge Wilkinson, the Reagan judge, the Reagan appointed judge, just talking about how un-American the treatment of these migrants is. And I was thinking to myself, I bet that's the first time the people on Laura Ingram's show have been exposed to that thought. Now, I bet Laura Ingraham has been exposed to it, so I don't know what Will Cain's excuse is because he's a professional newsman. You think he would have watched the press conferences. So I think in the Will Cain case, he is both in a silo and pretty slow. But he genuinely didn't know, obviously, right? And look, there's a lot of craziness happening in the Trump administration. It's hard to follow everything, but if you're Fox, and you're spending time trying to figure out whether there was a trans person in a frisbee match, that is also going to take a little bit of your bandwidth away from following everything that the president of the United States is
it's
doing.
some of that shoe leather reporting. Yeah, but if you're going to interview a guy who is currently in El Salvador visiting someone who is being detained there, maybe Google it once. It did make me wonder if Americans start getting sent to the terrorism confinement center in El Salvador. Does Fox defend it? Do they ignore it? Do they start talking about it like it's a good time down there? I don't know. I
think that we're kind of far away from the worst case outcome here, because the Trump administration knows they are savvy enough to know how to pick their foes, right? There's a lot of things that they're really stupid about, but they can pick their foes, And so when Trump is there talking about the homegrowns, obviously he's not talking about people that inserted their finger into a woman's vagina in a I don't know, where was it? Was it a Nordstrom's?
Oh, like a Bergdorf or something?
Bergdorf Goodman.
Yeah, something like that.
He's not talking about himself.
Something 80s, yes.
So the criminal in the White House, I don't think he's talking about being sent to El Salvador. But he's talking about the guys that hit a woman over the head, right? So that is when he's going to dare us, right? The next person to go isn't Miles Taylor. The next, right? The
former DHS spokesman, chief of staff,
who was the whistleblower that wrote the Anonymous book, right? If they try it, they're going to try it with an American citizen or a handful of American citizens that have committed really heinous crimes, and then they're going to say, "We dare you to be mad at this." Fight with us on the grounds of the Constitution and Reagan's ghost or whatever. We dare you to try that, Alyssa Slotkin. We think that'll be very unpopular, and the people will side with us. I don't know if that's true or not, but that the people will side with them on that. But I think that is kind of where they're going next. And I'll tell you, just watching that Fox clip and watching Fox, I think Fox will be pretty much fully supportive of them sending violent criminals to El Salvador.
Yeah, and I do think it's smart that Maxwell Frost, Chris Van Hollen, everybody out talking about this is look, I'm not here to defend Kilmar Garcia Abrego, the person. I'm standing up for the principle of due process and the need to present his case in a court of law before we ship someone off to a transnational gulag. I think that's something everyone can agree with. Tim, I think everyone listening to this or watching this knows that Fox and MSNBC have very different political viewpoints and that you can get an entirely different vision of America by watching each. But I think the vast majority don't consume what you consume in the super MAGA media. For example, if you watch Candace Owens regularly, you hear about how Harvey Weinstein is innocent. You hear about how French President Emmanuel Macron is actually married to a man. I believe that was a multi-part series.
There's a movie. I like it. She's gone. I mean, the amount of hours that you guys have spent on Pod Save America, I don't know, talking about the Donald Trump's constitutional crisis. She's dedicated that 2x to the question of whether Macron is married to a man or a woman, whether Brigitte Macron is secretly a man.
It's so crazy. And I just think we used to mock this stuff when CPAC was fringe, and now CPAC is mainstream, and now Alex Jones was fringe, and now there's just Alex Joneses across the media landscape that Donald Trump actually consumes. And it is kind of hard to fully wrap your brain around or quantify the impact of that toxic venom getting spewed into the brains directly of the President of the United States and other key decision makers. But I don't know, you watch so much of this, I'm wondering if you have a theory of the case.
Well, no, it's critical. I mean, I think it's critical to understanding what is motivating some of the executive orders and what is happening outside the White House. And this goes all the way back to 2016, right? Donald Trump in 2016 in the primary, part of the reason that he did well is he literally was responding to the craziest people in his replies.
Yeah.
And it was just a total paradigm shift for how people handled politics in the past, right? He was I remember there was a guy, the handle was, I think, white genocide something. There was a number, white genocide and a number. which is the person's whole Twitter handle was about how brown people are moving into the country and are going to eliminate the white race with race mixing. And that person sent a tweet to Trump making fun of Jeb when I was working for Jeb at the time for marrying a Mexican woman. Trump retweeted it and attacked Jeb's wife. And this is people then remember they had Jeb was criticized for not being, confronting him tough enough on the debate stage over that topic. But it's that little thing just shows how the fringe thought now has a direct line into the White House. And this is a total, this was not true in the past, right? It's not as if, WorldNet Daily for the old timers was the Candace Owens of the 2000s.
It's good stuff.
W wasn't getting WorldNet. How would W have even accessed WorldNet Daily? And nobody around him was there's one person on the staff that was in charge of conservative media that would read it and maybe would flag something once in a while. But so this stuff that is not true right now. With Elon and with Trump, there's just a direct line to the vein of the craziest people on the internet, and it impacts policy. It impacts the USAID policy. It impacts what the decisions that are being made in the government.
Yeah, and actually people rotate from the government to those conservative media outlets and back into the government. I mean, look, Dan Bongino was a right-wing podcaster. Now he's the deputy director of the FBI. Seb Gorka was a right-wing podcaster. Now he's the national counterterrorism guy in the NSC. So this is people in pretty senior positions.
I just pulled up Candace Owens' page, Becoming Brigitte. Part 6
oh my God.
has 1.9 million views on her
God.
YouTube page.
That's crazy.
That was part 6 of the Brigitte Macron story.
I couldn't get past part 4 personally.
There you go.
So, Tim, for what it's worth, later in the episode, Will Cain did play the clip of Trump talking about homegrown criminals, but he also felt the need to include this commentary. Let's listen.
After years of very fine people, among other hoaxes, I'm suspicious of any Democrat quoting President Trump in full context, and I make no apologies. None on not being able to know or recall that specific clip because it doesn't reinforce my fever dream Handmaid's Tale vision of America, where Lily, who reads The Bulwark on the Upper West Side, is about to be deported right after Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Do you have a message for Lily, the Bulwark subscriber on the Upper West Side?
I appreciate you, and happy to give you 3 months free of Bulwark Plus, Lily, if you reach out directly. It is. I love that Will is familiar with us, so that's pretty good. He's not in that much of a silo, so at least at some level it has broached at least his brain or the brain of his producer. The thing is, though, again, it shows a lack of familiarity with what the criticism is of the administration, right? I mean, I don't need to say this, but Bulwark and Pod Save America listeners or anybody in this universe are not oh man, the Gestapo is coming for an American mom any minute tomorrow.
Right.
It's no, we're opposed to this because of the concern about where this could lead. If the precedent is set that we can just trust the government can just send someone to El Salvador and just say, trust us. And if the first group is Venezuelan asylees and the next group is American criminals, maybe the group after that is political opponents of the president who have crime. You know what I mean? Who have other crimes. So again, you just walk this slowly one step at a time. And so they, have this perception, that by not engaging with people outside of their bubble, until Maxwell Frost came and popped it. By not engaging with people outside their bubble, they don't have to engage with the strong arguments or the realistic arguments. They engage with this imaginary argument where we're just, out here, and everybody has they, them pronouns and we are getting into a bunker, because we're afraid that Stephen Miller is going to come send us on a train. And that's not real.
I don't know if you saw, I watched that Laura Ingraham interview last night as well. I don't know if you saw Stephen Miller came on right afterwards in this bizarre black suit, dark gray tie thing. He looked crazy. He looked like a mortician.
I don't know. I think he looks like he could have been going to Bergheim. I mean, I think he just might be on a level that you're not on. In your J. Crew shirt.
Yeah.
I don't know. But he's a very. I guess I would say this about Stephen Miller. The corruption of his insides of his soul has started to leak out
Yeah.
into the skin, and he has become it's a very unpleasant viewing experience.
Yeah, he looks like a human vampire penis to me, and it's not good. Just to wrap this up, Will Cain, like, he's not some like dyed-in-the-wool conservative necessarily. He's worked at CNN, The Blaze. He joined ESPN in 2015, and then in 2020 he went to Fox and Friends to be a co-host of the Fox and Friends Weekend Show, which we now know is a great jumping-off point if you want to be a cabinet secretary. But now he does the 4 p.m. hour during the week. I don't know if that makes it so you can't leave and join the Trump administration anymore or what. But, he's not like he's not Candace Owens, right? He's like someone who should know better, but clearly does not.
I think that a lot of these guys, again, I think it goes back to the Lily from the Bulwark thing, right? Where you don't have to be an ideological radical to have become radicalized by just focusing on two things. One, like, the worst and most offensive, most annoying and ostentatious comments from the other side, right? If that's all you ever see, then you can caricature them in your head and you can say, I don't need to engage with that because these people are so crazy, right? And I think he's done that. And then on top of that, there is just simple career motivation, right? That you're like, look, it doesn't do me any good in this job to rise up in Fox, to be the fucking turd in the punch bowl, to be the Shepard Smith that's like, actually, guys, Donald Trump missed this one today. Like, you say that enough times, like, you're disincentivized to do that, in a big, conservative corporate ecosystem like Fox. And so I think that, while you don't necessarily need to be like a far right person to end up kind of expressing like a very close-minded MAGA propaganda, because like there are a lot of other incentives that are driving you that way.
Audience capture is something that is a risk for all of us who host shows.
Sure.
But in their case, the audience involves the President of the United States, who will personally call up the brass and be like, get rid of Will Cain. I mean, look, it took Megyn Kelly like a decade to dig out of the hole that came from, going after Trump at that debate, leaving Fox. I mean, she had that big payout, golden parachute at NBC News, I believe.
Yeah, it turned out okay.
It turned out okay for her. Tim Miller, thank you for doing the show. Everyone subscribe to the Next Level podcast, the Bulwark podcast. Become a Bulwark Plus member. There's great. I
like
read
Lily.
the Triad.
Yeah, the Triad is amazing. It's the best newsletter out there. The JVL's writing every day. He's grinding on it, and be like Lily. All right, be like Lily. Be intellectually curious, and know your rights, and know when Kash Patel is going to come for you and when he's not. And the Bulwark's a good place to be prepared for that.
And while you're here, subscribe to Pod Save America. The Bulwark guys. We here at Pod Save America, we are trying to build independent, progressive media organizations. The problem is that the right-wing ones got here a lot earlier. They have built up much bigger YouTube followings, and that is a problem because when people search for political content on YouTube, they get served lots of right-wing crap from the Daily Wire or TPUSA or others. So subscribe to The Bulwark, subscribe to Pod Save America to help surface our content and get people good information when they're looking to search about politics.
Leave Lily alone.
Leave Lily alone. Leave Tim alone. Leave me alone. Tim Miller, great to see you.
Bye.